They reckon love is blind, don't they? But what if that love turns out to be nothing but a cup of rosy Lee? Tonight, we're lifting the lid on a right nasty stitch-up that's been doing the rounds lately. Beautiful, brutal, and completely real. Our story kicks off in Fukuoka, autumn 2023. Meet Kenji, a hard-working, slightly lonely 51-year-old salaryman. Just doing the daily grind, back and forth from work, till a tiny spark of light cracked his quiet life wide open. A buzz on his blower, and there's a message online. It's from Mei Lin, a Chinese beauty who'd make your jaw drop. Oops, added the wrong number, she says. Oldest trick in the book, but works a treat. Her texts were pure sweetness. Night, night, sweet dreams, dropping in like clockwork every single evening, slowly but surely melting poor old Kenji's lonely heart. All that daily chit-chat? Nothing but a masterclass in selling a bit of warmth. Kenji was proper convinced he bagged a gorgeous bird online, and they were the real deal. The trap was set. Hook, line and sinker. Mei Lin spun a yarn about being the daughter of a grand tea merchant. She'd send him videos of misty, lush tea gardens in Yunnan and these fancy, posh tea ceremonies. This isn't your average cuppa, you see, she'd tell him. She'd rabbit on about these super rare luxury teas like Bingdao or Lao Bang Zhang with all these flashy videos. Her eyes were absolutely shining with it. She showed him the tea, nestled in this proper posh, heavy lacquered wooden box. Only, if you had a proper gander at this fancy box, there was a right dodgy clanger staring you in the face. Printed in gold letters on the box, it didn't say made in China, it said maked in China. A proper schoolboy grammar error. Dead giveaway it was cheap, mass-produced gear. But Kenji, completely lovesick, didn't spot a thing. Then out come the clause. Why don't we invest in this tea for our future? She proposed buying into this tea together, supposedly to fund a lovely life for the two of them in Japan. See, Pu'er tea is like liquid gold. The longer you store it, the pricier it gets. And to make this sweet talk sound legit, these con artists had set up a proper clever double-layered trap. Mei Lin wasn't just telling him to buy it. She goes, I've got a buyer lined up who'll pay top dollar. Then she introduces him to a Chinese dealer. That's layer 2 of the sting. Even careful old Kenji hesitated at first. It was all his savings as a humble working man. But when Mei Lin sent crying messages begging him to trust her, his common sense went right out the window. Enter Chow, the expert buyer Mei Lin set him up with. Talking like a cold, sharp businessman, he assured Kenji the investment was safe as houses, getting him hook, line and sinker. Chow tells him, buy this Bingdao tea now for 300,000 yen a pop, and in a few months we'll flog it at auction for at least $1 million. Leave it to me. Too good to be true, innit? A total load of codswallop. A guaranteed buyer lined up from day one. Sounds like money for old rope, doesn't it? But that was the cold-hearted trick, getting feeling completely safe so he'd cough up every last penny. November 2023, Kenji finally makes his first move, 3 million yen. The second that cash landed in the account, those scammers across the pond were no doubt raising a glass to their easy money. Once the money's flowing, they crank up the heat. A miracle extra slot has opened up. Other buyers are sniffing around. Chow and Mei Lin take turns rattling him, building the panic. In a blind panic, Kenji cashes in his retirement nest egg. Then he cancels his life insurance, tells his family proper Porkies about needing business capital, and borrows left, right and centre. No turning back now. By February 2024, the total amount he'd sent reached a whopping 38 million yen. Just like that, a working man's entire life savings vanished like a bubble in the wind. But the scariest part? Kenji weren't the only mug they rinsed. This was a proper, massive, highly organised syndicate, treating the whole of Japan like their own personal hunting ground. Take my bashi in October 2023. Another poor geezer got conned out of 15 million yen the exact same way. Another honest bloke who fell hook, line and sinker for a pretty girl selling tea. And it didn't stop there. May 2024, a bloke in Shizuoka got rinsed for 21 million yen. Same old scripts, same old tea, same old pork pies played out all over the country. So, who's pulling the strings behind all this? A massive, organised international syndicate operating out of cities in China, churning out fake romance like a factory line. Now the bird on the other side of that screen ain't no stunner called Mei Lin. Nah, in reality, it's just a bunch of proper miserable geezers in some dingy smoky room, tapping away on dozens of mobiles at once. Right then, this is where it all starts going pear-shaped for Kenji. Having sunk 38 million yen into the pot, that big resale auction he'd been waiting for is finally coming round. His heart's doing flips, just waiting for the green light. But on the big day, Mei Lin sends over a proper sob story. Oh my God, Kenji, there's been a massive cock-up at customs and they've seized all the tea. Talk about trouble brewing. Then that buyer bloke, Chow, chimes in. We need another 5 million yen for customs and a deposit. If you don't fork it out, every single penny you've put in gets nicked. Absolute classic guilt trip and blackmail, innit? Kenji's completely brassic and says no more. A few days later, a massive parcel turns up at his gaff. He rips it open and lo and behold, there's the actual posh Pu'er tea he was promised. Blimey, it weren't a con after all. The tea's the real deal. He's hugging this fancy wooden box, weeping tears of pure relief. But this parcel was actually the scammer's parting shot, a proper sick joke of a present. His relief don't last long though. He has a proper gander at the bottom of the wooden box and his fingers freeze. Staring back at him in shiny gold letters is Made in China. Absolute blind panic kicks in. Kenji starts messaging Mei Lin's line like a man possessed. But nothing's getting through. The account's been completely deleted, like she was never there in the first place. Still in total denial, Kenji takes his box of tea down to a proper traditional Chinese tea specialist in Fukuoka. If this stuff is the real deal, he might just get his money back. It's his absolute last throw of the dice. He's met by a master appraiser, an old geezer who's been studying tea leaves for donkey's years. Without saying a word, he pops the lid, pulls out a compressed disc of tea, takes a slow sniff and has a close look through his magnifying glass. What the expert says next is a proper kick in the teeth. Well, it won't poison you, mate, but it's only worth about 20 to 30 quid at best. It's just basic cheap old tat you can buy anywhere. 38 million yen, all for 30 quid's worth of tea. Kenji just goes limp and drops to the floor. The gorgeous bird he loved, the dreams of a future together, it was all just a massive performance to flog some cheap rubbish. He runs straight to the bill, but they've got no chance. The bank accounts he sent the cash to were dummy ones, laundered over and over. Trying to nick a scammer who's vanished into the dark corners of the web is bloody near impossible. It's a classic Chinese tea girl scam. Used to be a basic sob story to get a few quid, but now it's evolved into a proper sophisticated romance investment racket targeting people over here. And they didn't just rob him of his hard-earned cash either. They took a man's loneliness, his pure, vulnerable need to trust someone and make a connection, and they absolutely trampled all over it. Tonight, somewhere out there, a phone screen's glowing in the dark. Night-night, sweet dreams. If you've just got a text like that, watch your back, mate.
Is there really any love behind those sweet words, or are you just being taken for a ride?